Hi, happy Tip Tuesday. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be answering the question, what is an exempt seller? On previous Tip Tuesdays, we've discussed a lot about disclosures, specifically what disclosures are required to be given to the buyer by the seller. Well, there are actually some circumstances where the seller is exempt from having to provide certain disclosures to the buyer. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Here's one example of why a seller would not have to provide a disclosure to a buyer. If the seller is an heir to the property, say whoever lived in it and owned the home passed away, and now this new owner is the one that's taking care of the home and going to be selling it, they would be exempt from having to provide certain disclosures because they've never lived in the home and they might not know all the information that is usually required to be provided on a regular disclosure checklist. The two main disclosures that are not required to be provided by an exempt seller is a TDS, which is a transfer disclosure statement, and an SPQ, a seller property questionnaire. However, that does not mean that the seller is exempt from disclosing any known material facts or defects about the property, aka something that they are aware of. They are still required to disclose that information. So there is another form that an exempt seller would fill out, and it is called the exempt seller disclosure. I brought a sample up here with me. I'll have it pop up on the page too so that you can read along with me. So on section 2, item A, it mentions that under California law, most sellers of real property containing 1 to 4 residential units are required to provide prospective buyers with a completed real estate transfer disclosure statement. Certain sellers are exempt from completing the TDS, but not exempt from making other disclosures. Sellers who are not legally required to complete a TDS can use this form to make other required disclosures, including the disclosure of material facts of which they are aware. So it's basically a really summarized, shortened version of the transfer disclosure statement and the seller property questionnaire. But if there is more information that the seller is aware of or did know about the property, there is an addendum that we can apply to this and fill out all the information, anything that they disclose. We always recommend that sellers be transparent with buyers. Disclose as much as possible. It reduces the liability of the seller. So if you're an exempt seller, this is something that you can expect to fill out whenever we review all the disclosures with you. If you're a buyer that's purchasing a home that has an exempt seller, then you would be prepared to receive this questionnaire instead of the regular transfer disclosure statement and seller property questionnaire. Hopefully this was informative for you and you can take something from this and maybe it'll apply to your circumstances when you're buying or selling a home. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We post these videos every Tuesday to incite, empower, and educate you so that you can make real estate decisions confidently. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Tuesday.